Once again, this is Chris Report, and he assured me that since Simon's down in Boulders, folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. Welcome back, folks. Herzlich willkommen with us once again. Boy, this earpiece is all messed up. Welcome back to the program. This is Chris live in central Pennsylvania. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced an address to the nation at 6 p.m. South Africa time today, May 26, 2024. And this is going to preempt my news. But we do have a half an hour to talk about this ahead of time. And I will also cover a little bit of that news that I was going to cover today. Of course, tomorrow night I'm off to South Africa, departing tomorrow evening. We have our Memorial Day celebration tomorrow, commemoration of those who've fallen in service to the nation. Unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have massive thunderstorms and rain, which will mean the cancellation of the parade. A lot of work and efforts gone into coordinating the parade, and it looks like it's not going to happen now, and that's a bit frustrating. Anyway, so welcome back to the program. Cyril Ramaphosa will be talking to us shortly. He finished and wrapped up his election campaign yesterday. Ramaphosa saying, hey, vote for a handsome fellow like me. I assume that was a tongue-in-cheek comment and not a serious comment by Cyril Ramaphosa. He's far from a good-looking fellow. Looks more like someone smashed him in the head with a shovel. Anyway, welcome back to the program, folks. So let's see what happens as Ramaphosa gets up. I'm not seeing either ENCA or YouTube listing it as published as running that video, so I'll look for that here in just a few moments. But yeah, so what's he going to tell us? Well, he's probably going to use this as a state of the nation, or not state of the nation, but this platform to campaign, which is what political leaders around the world do. They misuse and abuse their position as nations leaders to try to influence you to vote for their political party. Joe Biden does it. Donald Trump does it. Macron does it. They all do it. They use the apparatus of the state immorally to advance their own interest. And that's what's happening here. Now, ostensibly, one would expect that Ramaphosa, as president of the country, would call for calm. And if South Africa's intelligence services have any merit whatsoever, they will be aware of potential threats to the election. We're already seeing the Mkhonto Sizwe party making unfounded allegations against the Independent Electoral Commission. I'm not here to defend the IEC, not a fan of the IEC. I've seen them fail on too many occasions. But the point is that there's nothing to back up the claims of MK going forward. They're simply trying to pollute the waters before the election so that when they start their tantrum after the election, they'll have a basis to go forward. Anyway, folks, Ramaphosa will be on here if he comes on time in about 21 minutes. And he's going to tell us that all is well, that under the ANC stewardship, South Africa has gone from a horribly racist country where the laws were meant to oppress black South Africans to one of a land of milk and honey, where everybody lives in opulence, courtesy of the 350 Rand social grant given to the indigent by the corrupt ANC. Of course, the ANC didn't give those grants. The taxpayer gave those grants, and Western donors gave those grants, because we are the ones funding South Africa's corrupt ANC through handouts and gifts and grants. And that's why they have any money at all. This is a party that can't pay its own staff, a party that welched on a deal for nearly 4 years for their last campaign in 2019, only finally coming to a settlement after some sort of white knight, no pun intended, ANC, or black knight, take your pick, came to the rescue at the end of November 2023 when they owed 102 million Rand to Izuweni Media Group, and they also owed over 50 million Rand in fines imposed by the court and interest. Now, magically, that debt was settled. No details discussed publicly. Of course, that is the nature of the African National Congress. It's not transparent. It's quite the opposite. It's an opaque party that hides its machinations from the public because they fear scrutiny. They fear daylight. You see, corruption dies in daylight. When people are fully aware of the level of corruption, they do not tolerate it. Well, let's see who's in the chat. I'll say hello to everybody over here. Excuse me. I just cut this thing. I'm going to have to cut this whole beard off and this mustache. Really drive me nuts. All right, so we've got John Hooch in here, Clive Streak. Is he going to resign? No, he's not going to resign. Universal Declaration of Independence. Well, maybe the Western Cape needs to follow the example of Rhodesia and you do UDI. Elmi 5 Pence, Hester Kotze, Trevor Bush, Monray Siebritz, strong Western Cape presence here. Hendo, a Western Caper by heart, but doing it from long distance in UK. Hendo is here. I said that. George Steinberg's in Heckport. Gypsy Backpackers. Who else? Allison Johnson. Garrett Gillich. Hendo. Emil Thert. Dylan Kombrick. Alan Kotze. Kuban is back. Welcome, Kuban. And Heinrich Vista says, I never watched his TV addresses. Can't stand that voice and BS that's coming out of his mouth. We'll look tomorrow in the newspaper. What an imbecile, he said. Well, thanks for being here at least. Hopefully you stuck around. You can listen to my commentary. People find my commentary interesting, informative, and oftentimes entertaining while he's speaking. Going to tell us about KFC and use t-shirts. Yeah, the IFP accused of handing out KFC. Kawi Kurtzia says, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not interested in listening to a liar and gangster. Anyway, he doesn't know what's going on around exactly. Well, please listen to me, though. Thank you for being here. Please listen to me because my commentary is epic, and you'll enjoy it. You're cutting the beard. Also, may I wish you a very safe. Well, thank you. No, I said it's time for the beard to go. It's well past time for it to go. 50 Rand, he's resigning. Really? Well, I'll tell you what. That would be a coup if we find out that he is resigning. Wow. I seriously doubt it. He's the only reason the ANC is even close to 50% in the polls because people are stupid and they think that he's an effective leader and he has a soothing voice for them somehow. Anyway, so please stick around. Too late to take his ugly face off the posters. Well, we know that Jacob Zuma cannot compete for parliament, which I said all along, yet he remains on the ballot as the face of the MK party. So yeah, that's what happens. 71 people currently here. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. I know it doesn't cost you a moment, but a moment of your time.
That was easy.
That's our easy button. So you just push the like button. And unlike this failed campaign button, you don't need that when I ran for election and lost last month. Anyway, only way to get to listen to Ramaphosa is via the Colonel. Exactly. At least that way we have some laughs for all the BS. Kawi says, no, Chris, you're excellent. Well, thank you, Kawi. I appreciate that. Kawi, what's that short for? Is it short for Cowan or something like that? Sue says, will you be doing broadcasts in South Africa? Yes, Sue, I do impromptu broadcast. With any good fortune, I'll appear once again on Gareth Cliff Central when I'm in Sandton. And then I'll also be doing public appearances, hopefully at the Reformation Society in Rondebosch. I typically do one there. We'll be having meet and greets, and I'll be doing live. I'll also decide I'm going to create a travel channel, and I don't know what to call it, but I'll give them something. And I'm going to put just travel videos on that one. So there you go. Yeah, I've got my passport, Arctic. I've had it since last week, but I had to stay for Memorial Day parade, and it looks like the weather's going to cancel tomorrow. So what a shame. I could already have been in South Africa right now. Yeah, but unfortunately, I stayed for the parade, and we're going to have severe thunderstorms tomorrow. So that kind of sucks. But that's life. That's how it goes. That's how the cookie crumbles. Yeah, so thanks for being here, folks. Be sure to become a subscriber if you're not one already. You get free analysis. You know, I look at the cornucopia, the vast variety of people who comment on social media. And honestly, most of them don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They have no experience in life. They've never accomplished anything. And some are mildly entertaining, but many of them are not even entertaining, yet people glom onto them. And, hey, did you know about this? The President's Daily Brief? Do you know about this site? Do you know about that site? And it's fascinating how people glom on. A lot of people have glommed on and locked on and stuck with me for a long time. But I would argue that at least they're getting informed and insightful, thoughtful, cogent, and prescient analysis and projections of what's going to happen. Yep. Well, hey, see, we know how he filled a stadium. They paid for people to go there. They put them on buses and they filled it up. It's pretty simple math. Whereas other parties had organic crowds that showed up, and we'll see what happens. Look, I don't know what's going on. This daily poll from the Social Research Foundation is all over the place. Now the ANC's back up by 1%, and MK's down by 2%, and DA is steady. It'll only come down to who actually goes to the polls. The polls don't matter, folks. The polling doesn't matter. The voting stations are what matter on Wednesday. The number of people that can be driven out. And if you are in the Freedom Front Plus, if you're in the Inkatha Freedom Party, if you are in the Democratic Alliance, you must be concentrating on these last 4 days to contact people who are historically members of your party to ensure that you get as large a turnout from your base as possible. This is how you will win this election. You're not going to win over voters from the ANC or from EFF at this stage. You're not going to steal voters from other parties. In Action SA and the new kids on the block like UIM and Patriotic Alliance, you need to get out and do what you can. But those historic parties have been around for a long time. Now the difference for them will be how many of their voters get to the polls and pull the lever. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. You must get out. Most South Africans sign out of this election. Well, then that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a serious problem. What I would like to see is the ANC driven below 7 million votes. That would just make my day. I'd be thrilled to see that. Below 7 million votes. And it's possible. And it's maybe even likely. Certainly around 8 million, but they could be below 7 million. That would be something else. And I don't care if the votes go to MK or elsewhere, as long as they're not EFF and ANC, because MK is not going to do much of anything. That party will implode before those members even get to Parliament. They'll have to decide which prison jumpsuit they want to wear when they get to Parliament. Anyway, let me look and see if I can find the broadcast now, because as I said, I had difficulty finding it earlier. So let me see. Come on. Here's the live channel. Okay, let me see. Live. Cell phone data. Nope. ENC I'm not finding. I'm also not finding it on. Oh, boy. Okay, let's see. SABC Ramaphosa. Nope. Why is it not listed? What's going on here? The thing is supposed to be at 6 o'clock. And it's not listed. I'll do this. I'll do a Google search. Okay, tonight. Got that one. Business Live. Can't watch that. Here we go. Presidency of South Africa. That might be where I get it on the YouTube page for them. It's February, so presidency. Okay, where are we going live here, man? There's nothing there. No, nothing there. Wow. Well, I hope I'm not clickbaiting you here with this announcement. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Anyway, so he's probably actually going to talk about the national health insurance bill and also make this immoral play for the basic income grant. That's probably what Ramaphosa is going to do. News 24. Why can't? Well, News 24 has it, huh? Let me go to News 24. I don't want to get those pricks will probably give me a copyright claim. I do have an account there, so I should be able to stream it if they're going to do it. News 24. Okay. Okay. Let me get the News 24 site. Okay. Nope. Don't see anything on it. Usually by now they have got it posted. Yeah, but he's not late. This is the websites. Yeah. Check with. Yeah. Let me. Yeah. Hang on. Hang on a second here. Sorry about that. Okay, I was just asking Ronaldo, yeah. All right. So, should know by now he's always late. Yeah, Rose, that's true. He's late, but I need the feed. Usually these YouTube channels already have the feed up, and neither one of them has it up. They have votes in the bag taken for polls by, what? Sue says I can give you the link. All right, Sue, I can make you a moderator very quickly here. Let me do that. We'll give Sue moderator status for a moment. Where the heck is my live stream at? Okay, I'm in the wrong place. There we go. All right, Sue Walsh is now, what the heck's going on here? Add as moderator. Standard moderator. Okay, you can post a link now, Sue, if you've got it there. Yeah, no. So there you go. Well, I want to get ahead of time, make sure I've got a good link here. We don't want to have people waiting. We want to catch the squirrel the moment he starts. We don't want to miss it. It's only 11 minutes away. Normally, these links are posted hours in advance. I don't know why they're not posted. Vernon Wade says maybe it's a scam. Well, NHI is a scam, that's for sure. The basic income grant is a scam. Otherwise, the ANC wouldn't say, elect us, and in 2 years, we'll give it to you. It's just total nonsense. Total nonsense. Hey, Shireen, how's it going? Long time no see. Jan Fiona's gifted membership, and it went to John Hoochin from Arizona. There you go. John, congratulations. Hang on a second. Okay, when I turn that down, I'm going to get blasted out. 105 people currently here. I think we have the usual suspects. Kaiser Sose and the usual crowd are here. But a lot of news I want to get through, too, so I'm waiting for that link from Sue. She's going to post it there since I gave her the moderator status. All right, so here we go. So Ramaphosa is scheduled to speak to the nation Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Says it's going to be broadcast on SABC, but it's not on their website on YouTube. It'll probably be put on there as they go live. And the MK party is claiming that the Independent Electoral Commission is vote rigging already in Durban. A viral TikTok video from someone who should not have been in a location. was circulating on social media. The Electoral Commission of South Africa and the Umkhonto Sizwe have clashed after a video showing boxed ballot papers stored in a room at a warehouse in Hammarsdale. According to the person who filmed the video, which is going viral, the ballot papers and the election materials were not secured at a warehouse at Hammarsdale, and the person who was in control of the warehouse was just a person in a yellow t-shirt, supposedly making a claim that they're part of the ANC. Ballot papers are supposed to be delivered to voting stations on the day of elections. The IEC spokesperson, Kate Bapela, said the videos from Hammarsdale and the Chesterville depots showed their planned logistical arrangements and storage of election materials as we prepare for the first day of special voting. These are legitimate and authorized arrangements for the distribution of ballot papers and other bulk material. However, MK Party said these sites were unsecured and we had access to them. And it does raise the question, how in God's green acre did these people get access to them? Yeah, so where is Sue? I thought she was going to give us a link. Right. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Hey, here's another one, folks. The disused refinery in Durban, which shut down 2 years ago, has been bought from BP and Shell. By private investors, profit-going ventures? No. It's been bought by the government of South Africa, which has no money. Undisclosed terms of how much it was paid for, and the government of South Africa secures more of the private sector from the public, ensuring corruption, theft, patronage, and inefficiency. Yep, that's what's coming. A petroleum refinery that couldn't make money because of government policies and the government setting the fuel price. Now they've taken over. The Central Energy Fund has bought the Durban crude oil refinery. It was owned by BPSA and Shell. Hasn't been in operation since April of 2022, so over 2 years ago. The state-owned Central Energy Fund announced on Saturday it had concluded a 2-year-long discussion to purchase the refinery. However, the refinery will need substantial investment to make it functional. Duh. The Durban crude oil refinery was the largest in the country, and until April 2022, it provided 35% of South Africa's refined capacity, processing 24,000 tons of crude oil a day. It has been non-operational for 2 years after it was shut down. Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Gwede Mantashe, said the purchase would arrest the decline of South Africa's refining capacity, resulting in South Africa becoming a net importer of fuel, which is what they've become. This new emerging trend has not only threatened the country's economic stability and security of supply of petroleum products, but also meant the exportation of jobs that are so needed in this country. And you should look at your BEE and racist policies and your government-controlled fuel prices to find out why that is the situation. Communism doesn't work. Price controls do not work. Xenophobia does not work. This is stupid. And that's why 2 of the most valuable petroleum-producing companies in the world have abandoned that refinery and abandoned the marketplace. Okay. Okay, there's the link from Sue. Cool beans. Thank you for that, Sue. All right, let me see if I can't get that. Okay, copy link. Copy link. Let me go to the other page I had. Okay, let's try this. Paste and go. Yeah, it's fine if it hasn't started yet. There it is. There it is. Now, why couldn't I not find that? Oh, that's News 24. Okay, that's not SABC. Okay, I was trying to get the SABC. I don't want News 24 to give me a copyright claim. Let's go to SABC, and I'm going to go to ENCA. And see if they come up. But thank you. I do have it there for News 24. Thank you for that. The problem is they'll put their little logo on the screen. I don't want to get in trouble with that. Nothing wrong with older folks. What? Commies, starving comrades. That refinery used exotic steels for tubes and pipes. What a lovely opportunity to drain money. Got it, Sue. Okay. Oh, you're going to send the SABC. Thank you, Sue. Wow. For some reason, it's not appearing on my feed, which is unusual. And it may be because of my IP address, but normally that's there. 117 people currently here. Hey, folks, if you're not a subscriber, that button is right below the video. On your phone, your mobile device, on your tablet, on your laptop, on your PC. I don't know if you've got a neural link. Maybe it's in your neural link. You just tap the side of your forehead and you'll get that subscription. But hey, it costs nothing.
That was easy.
Oh, I'm choked up. It was so easy. Becoming a subscriber takes nothing but a moment of your time, and we really do appreciate it. I mean, I put a lot of effort into this. David Hernavad, they're going to postpone the election. No, I don't think that's likely. Don't think that's likely. By law, it must be held within 5 years and 90 days, I think it is. So what was the date of the last election? We'll have to see if within 90 days. They tried that crap in 2021, and they had a far better lame excuse of COVID, and they didn't get away with it. 58 likes already, says Clive. Well, thank you for that. Let me see how many I've got on my screen. So thank you for that, Sue. I do appreciate it. And what's Sendo putting a chat in there? What's that all about? And then let me get over here really quickly here. I want to check on something. So, yeah, it's actually 62 likes, so thank you for that. And I've got no feed. Why is it? Come on, what's going on? YouTube is not playing nice. It was fine a little while ago. Now it's just spinning. There we go. Wow, that is very frustrating. Major Chronic 206 gives a thumbs up. Thank you for that, Major Chronic. Good to see some new folks here, folks. For those of you who might be new to the channel, it's like, ooh, who is this oak? That accent just doesn't sound right for a Safa. And I'm not a Safa. I'm not a South African citizen. Have never claimed to be one. And I actually am an American retired U.S. Army intelligence officer, 37 years in uniform, 34 on active duty. And I served overseas, 3 tours in Germany, 1 in Italy. In Africa, I was stationed in Tunisia, Liberia, Botswana, Malawi, Niger, Mauritania, Uganda, and Ethiopia at the African Union. I've hunted terrorists. I've taught militaries to obey the rule of law and the law of land warfare, built schools and clinics, rescued people from HIV, and Emron Phillips has just subscribed. Bye bye donkey. Kialabo for that subscription. Oh, it's the traveling group to South Africa. Yes, I'm asking people if you want to help out with my trip to South Africa, which is really unarranged. I'm flying tomorrow night. My passport came at the last minute. I had to pay for expedite. It turned out they only charged me for the mail, not for the expedite service, because it was already finished and they were sitting on their bum, not shipping it out. So I got my passport, but it was too late to leave when I wanted, which would have been on Thursday or Wednesday of last week. So I'm coming last minute. I'll arrive Tuesday evening in Cape Town. I'll be staying in the Western Cape until the 5th of June when I'll fly to Gauteng and land at OR Tambo. And I haven't set the rest of my schedule because I need information back from several people, including Steve Hofmeyer, Vina Dutoy, and a number of political figures around the country about where they're going to be, and so I can plan the rest of my trip to be the most effective and efficient. So I will be in South Africa until the 26th of June. So I will be holding meet and greets. I'll be doing public speaking engagements, appearing on the radio once again, things like that. So you're welcome to come join us if you like. If you have the ability to offer lodging, or some people actually offer to pay for lodging on occasion, or you have an event you'd like me to go to, or something you'd like me to see or cover newsworthy, let me know. And that's what that group is for. That group is not for posting social media things, at least while I'm planning and executing the trip. It is for afterwards. And that's so I can tell people in that group, hey, listen, I need something, I need lodging here, I need help here, or I've broken down, can someone send me some help? My first trip back to South Africa after the COVID scam in 2019, people famously remember, or 2022, excuse me, 2022, people famously remember that I blew 2 tires simultaneously on a road just outside of Rustenburg, and I was screwed, but I had an Indian and a colored, a black, no, it was no color guy. It was an Indian and a black, a Tswana speaker, an Indian fellow, and an Afrikaner all came to my rescue and got me back on the road that day. That's the day that I went to Sterkfontein, to the Cradle of Humankind, and met up with viewers. But the only viewer who was there was Chris Marie. We had a grand old time. But yeah, so there's an email address. You can send things to that email address as well if you can help out, or you want to arrange for something, or you would like me to appear somewhere. Just let me know. I don't ask for honorariums or cash. Also, a lot of people like to super chat, but they don't like to give money to YouTube. When I'm in South Africa, if you want to give me a super chat, that is your prerogative, and I will not turn it down. These trips are quite expensive. My flight this time is eye-watering how expensive it was compared to my first flight back. Each time the price has gone up substantially. Now, this might be because it's last minute. It's also summer holiday season here in the U.S., so that could explain why the price is so high. But the prices just keep going up, and it's not getting any better. So they are still not live there, and there's still nothing on SABC. So did Sue send an SABC link? Okay. Thank you, Sue Walsh, for that, sending that link. Here we go. Finally, they've got Ramaphosa on SABC. Got it. Okay, ENCA, let me reload it. So, boy, they waited till late to load that link. And, sorry, I'm right to Ronaldo. All right. Okay, so, and there's Sue. She's got that one. Let me see if that's the same link I've got now. Right, copy, open link, copy link, copy link, copy link. There we go, copy link. And let me get to the other window here. Gets a little complicated for broadcasters when you are doing it all yourself. I have no staff. It's all just me. This video isn't available anymore. Okay. Oh, Ronaldo's got 600 people. Wow, I'm envious. Hey, the Barbara's Rhubarb Pie. They just keep making new videos. Their latest one, part 2, has 530,000 views. Wow, that's crazy. Steve Hofmeyer's chat. Okay. All right. Anyway, so I've got the two of them. I've got the SABC, so we good. Yeah, he's on West African time, that's for sure. Anyway, let me get back to the news feeds here a little bit here while we wait for this to come up. And he's supposed to be live right now. So we are waiting for Ramaphosa to come up. And when he does, we'll go with it. But in the meantime, let's get back to the news stories I was talking about. So the South African government is purchasing the private refinery in Durban. And, well, there you go. Hey, one province in South Africa has no water most of the time. Water disruptions are prevalent. The one province in South Africa where 2/3 of houses sit without water for days on end. Over the past year, more than 1/3 of South African households experienced water interruptions, increasing to 2/3 in certain provinces. So, on countrywide, an average of 35.8% of households reported water interruptions that lasted at least 2 days. The province with the highest reported interruptions was run by the ANC, as was the next, well, all of them. Every province in trouble was run by the ANC except for Western Cape. So Mpumalanga is the worst, with 67% of households experiencing water interruptions of at least 2 days, whereas the Western Cape, the number of households experiencing it is just 3.4%. Wow. The worst metropolitans, Nelson Mandela Bay at 45%, Cape Town just 3.9%. Wow, and the DA should be crowing about this. They're always telling people about how much better their governance is. They should be using that statistics and that information. Well, we've got nothing going on yet for Ramaphosa. It's just a big old bait and switch. Ramaphosa's still not there, folks. Be sure. Hey, listen, Christopher Darberton says happy Sunday. Well, thank you to that. But more importantly, tomorrow is Memorial Day here in the United States. This is the day in which we honor those who died in service to the nation in uniform. Yeah, he's looking for his pen. He left it with the NHI bill. He might also be looking for his iPad. Where's my iPad? Who stole my iPad? My iPad was here. They took my iPad. What a moron. Yeah, Ramaphosa at his last speech said, hey, vote for me. I'm the handsome fellow. David says, can't stand hearing why do people say that? You know, watch my thing. It's people are here for the entertainment value, not for Ramaphosa. So, South Africans are dumping Eskom. Not exactly a news flash. My Broadband runs a story today telling you what I've been telling you all along. The reason for the reduced load shedding isn't the availability of generation capacity. That's a small factor in it. The main factor is the number of people who've ditched the grid. And another, of course, is they're burning diesel like crazy. But the real issue here is the number of people who've ditched the grid. It's shocking how many people have rooftop solar now. Wow. It's just crazy. So rooftop solar has increased by over 2 gigawatts from one year to the next. By the end of April, South Africa now has 5,490 megawatts or 5.5 gigawatts of installed rooftop solar. It's Remembrance Day, a public holiday. It's not called Remembrance Day, Garrett, but the one you're talking about is a public holiday, but it's not known as Remembrance Day. It's known as Veterans Day. So on November 11th, we celebrate all veterans, not simply those who died in the great conflict in the First World War. And it looks like the Rama Poo-poo is still not here. Oh, we got it. We got an ad, so hang on. I got an ad here I'm waiting for. SABC is going live. Oh, you guys can hear that, can't you? Let me turn that off so I don't get a copyright strike. All right, so another ad. Wow, just getting one advert after another here. This is the SABC feed. Yeah, someone says election tactics. Well, that's what this speech is probably all about, election tactics. Bob Casey's running for U.S. Senate. Didn't even know he was in the Senate. Oh, he's ready.
29th of May, millions more South Africans will exercise this most important democratic right.
Oh, will they now?
This will be the 7th time that South Africans of all races, from all walks of life, from all corners of our country, will go to vote for our national government and our 9 provincial governments. We will once again assert the fundamental principle articulated in the Freedom Charter that no government can justly claim authority unless it is based on the will of our people.
Yeah, okay.
In the days to come,
tyranny of the majority.
We will be doing much more than exercising our constitutional right to vote.
What will we be doing, Cyril?
We will be determining the direction that our country takes.
Further south.
We will be taking responsibility for our future, the future of our families, our communities, and indeed our nation. As we cast our votes, we will be vindicating the struggles and the sacrifices of the generations before us who fought for this precious democracy that we now enjoy.
Really?
As in every election that we have held since 1994, We expect this election to be held in conditions of peace and stability,
Unlike
to
94.
be free, fair, and credible.
Don't hold your breath on that.
We commend the Independent Electoral Commission for the impressive work that they have undertaken in preparing for these elections.
Well, let's hope that's a true statement.
As a country, we have once again witnessed the capabilities of the IEC in the successful voter registration weekends, in the registration of parties and candidates, in the preparation of ballot papers, in the organization of overseas
Dear
voting,
God, we know what they do.
and in the
Get
diligent
to the point.
application of our electoral laws.
What a deuce.
We convey our thanks and best wishes to the IEC commissioners, to the IEC staff, and to the thousands of election workers as they deliver on this most important responsibility of our nation in the coming days.
Well, they continue to neglect small
One
parties.
of the defining features of all our elections since 1994 has been their integrity.
Eh,
This has been made possible not only by the work and the conduct of the IEC, but also by the presence of party agents
International
and
observers.
independent observers
International
from
observers.
various parts of the world,
Yes, that's correct.
including our own continent, as
Not
authorized
ZANU-PF.
by the African Union.
Not ZANU-PF.
The involvement of party agents gives people confidence that there is effective oversight of all aspects of the electoral process.
We will see.
Through the presence of local and international observers, we are able to satisfy ourselves that our elections conform not only to our own laws, but also to internationally accepted standards of freeness and fairness. We thank all the party agents and the election observers for the work they are doing, and reiterate that they must be allowed to do their work without any form of hindrance, intimidation, or threats. As in previous elections, our law
Sorry,
enforcement
folks.
agencies and security services have made extensive preparations.
I'm
to
not that
ensure
goddamn
that
boy.
these elections are peaceful and that all South Africans can freely exercise their right to vote.
Except in the Cape Flats.
They have been deployed throughout the country to ensure that there are no disturbances or disruptions to the election process.
We've already had this. The EFF and MK are
We
shooting
thank
each other.
them for their professionalism, their dedication, and their vigilance.
EFF and ANC, I should say.
Over the course of the last few months,
Hey, Artie.
many different parties and candidates have vigorously and enthusiastically campaigned for votes.
Isn't that ironic? Enthusiastically.
While the contestation has been robust
Contestation.
and at times became heated,
Ooh, gunfire.
campaigning has been peaceful and free of intimidation.
Only because people stay out of other people's areas.
We commend all parties that have upheld the electoral code of conduct and that have ensured that their supporters adhere to the democratic principles that have long characterized our elections.
30 years isn't long, buddy.
We should all be concerned at reports that came out today
Uh-oh.
about the obstruction of election activities,
Ooh.
including unlawful entry at IEC storage
This
sites
is the
in
MK story I
KwaZulu-Natal.
told you about. MK
We
story.
once again call upon all parties, all candidates, supporters, and every South African to refrain from any action that could interfere with the due process of the electoral process. Regardless of the outcome, let this election further entrench our democracy and strengthen our commitment to uphold this precious democracy.
Ooh, precious.
My fellow South Africans, this election brings to a close the sixth administration of our democracy.
Not soon enough.
When this administration took office in 2019,
Oh, here goes the accomplishments.
our
folks.
country stood at a turning point.
What turning point?
We had endured a decade of corruption and state capture,
While you were vice president,
weak economic
deputy
growth,
president.
and the erosion of our public institutions.
You were deputy president during the entire time.
Today, we have put that era behind us.
No, you haven't. It's worse today.
We've placed South Africa on a new trajectory
Liar.
of recovery
Liar.
and laid a strong foundation for future growth.
No, for kleptocracy. That's the
We
foundation.
have taken significant steps
Such
to
as
reform our economy by implementing a number of reforms
more communism.
that affect various sectors of the economy.
Steal the private sector.
In tackling crime and corruption, we have introduced a number of initiatives
What
and
initiatives?
measures
What
to
measures?
reposition our criminal justice
You've
system.
done nothing. You're just a liar.
We've faced many challenges along the
Can't even
way,
read a teleprompter.
which have tested our resilience and our resolve.
No,
as a
just our
people.
patience. That's all it's been tested.
Yet in each instance, we have confronted these challenges together.
When? Where? How?
We have remained united.
Liar.
We have worked in partnership and
With-
in solidarity
With whom? Kosatsu?
in many areas.
Give me a break.
Together as a nation, we brought state capture to an end.
No, you didn't. It just
We
continued under your regime.
dislodged the criminal networks
No, you didn't.
that have stolen billions from our people,
Trillions.
that had eroded our public institutions, and that had undermined the rule of law.
No, you haven't.
Together, we worked to rebuild our law enforcement agencies,
What?
our security services,
No new funding.
our state-owned enterprises
They
that
couldn't
are
even
still
predict 2021.
being
I did.
rebuilt, and a number of other public bodies. Through the work of institutions like the National Prosecuting Agency, Investigating Directorate, the Hawks and the
Chicken
Special
hawks.
Investigating Unit, several state capture and corruption cases have been brought to court, and
Yeah.
many more will still be brought to
No
court.
convictions. No imprisonment.
Billions of rands in stolen funds have been recovered
That's a
and
lie.
continue to be recovered.
If they had done that, they would have done it every day in the
On
news.
Friday, I signed into law to establish the National Prosecuting Agency's
Oh, jeez.
Investigating Directorate
Another
against
corrupt
corruption
body.
as a permanent entity. There is still much that we need to do to
This
end
guy
corruption in our
It's
country.
unbelievable. Yeah, get rid of you.
However, as a country, we have sent a very clear message to the corrupt that they can no longer expect to get away with their crimes with impunity and without consequence.
Says the embezzler in chief standing in front of us.
One of the developments that have defined the last 5 years was the COVID pandemic,
No, it was your presence.
which was the worst global health crisis in over a century.
Total scam.
Our country and our people were not spared the devastation of the pandemic.
No, it was exacerbated by your presence.
More than 100,000 South Africans lost their lives to the illness.
90,000 more than should have lost.
More than 2 million jobs were lost.
3.5
And
million
many
jobs.
businesses were forced to close.
Tens of thousands because of your
And
actions.
yet the damage could have been far worse.
I don't see how.
As a country, we came together
No, you didn't.
when it was most needed.
You arrested law-abiding citizens.
We took extraordinary measures to keep ourselves and each other safe.
You gave minorities criminal records so they can't leave the
We
country.
lowered the rate of infection
No, you didn't.
and ensured that every person received the care that they needed.
These people just stand there and lie, and they have no
We
compunction.
introduced a massive package
of
of
welfare.
social and economic
Yes.
support
Oh, he's so proud of
to
that.
protect vulnerable businesses,
So
workers,
proud.
and households.
23
destructive
freaking dollars a
effects of
month
the
is not
pandemic.
help, you moron.
More than 5.7 million workers received wage support through the
Really?
special UIF
Not
scheme.
minorities. Not minorities.
Through the introduction of the special SRD grant, we provided relief to more than 11 million unemployed people at the height of the pandemic.
And what about the Tourism Relief Fund?
This has now come down, the pandemic having come to an
This
end.
is the worst president in
Working
the history of South
together,
Africa.
we succeeded
Worse than
in
during apartheid.
administering more than 39 million COVID vaccine doses.
What is the purpose of talking about COVID?
Even
What are you
during
doing
the
on the
worst
stage?
moments of the
Are you telling
pandemic,
people to behave during the election, or are you
we
campaigning?
endured And indeed, we did overcome. This is how we are as South Africans.
No.
We confront every great difficulty and challenge with determination and courage.
Oh, my God.
When in July 2021, it looked like our country would go up in flames,
You ignored it for 5 days.
people of South Africa stood firm against those who wanted
All you told
to
people
incite an insurrection.
for 5 days was wear your mask, wear your mask,
Proved
wear your
that
mask.
our democracy remains strong, and our commitment to the constitution of our country and the rule of law are resolute.
Oh, please, spare me.
When in April 2022 catastrophic floods struck parts of KwaZulu-Natal,
Because the drains were
the
jammed
Eastern
with rubbish.
Cape and Northwest, South Africans came together to provide material assistance
No, gift of the
to
givers
those
did it all. You
affected
didn't do jack squat.
in order to help them rebuild their lives.
Nothing's been rebuilt. Have you been to
And as
KZN
we
more?
worked to rebuild our economy, South Africans came together in social partnerships to drive investment, to build infrastructure,
drive investment away.
and to remove the obstacles
To destroy
inclusive
infrastructure.
growth.
To impose obstacles.
Our economy has returned to pre-COVID levels, and we have recovered
Just not impressive.
jobs lost to the pandemic.
No, you have. You haven't recovered anything.
As we confronted a debilitating electricity crisis, we came together as social partners.
Did we now?
Through a concerted and focused effort,
Amandla!
achieved a sustained reduction in the severity of load shedding.
Amandla!
Together, we supported ESCOM's effort to improve the
Rob us some
performance of its
electricity.
power stations. We enabled investment in new electricity generation capacity on a scale that is unprecedented in our country's
People
history.
took money out of their pockets to put rooftop solar on.
Working with financial institutions, development agencies, businesses, and professional organizations, we revitalize investment in infrastructure.
Viva ANC!
The value of projects currently in construction and infrastructure is over 230 billion rand,
Not true.
including in areas such as energy, rural roads, as well as dams, and a
Dams.
number of other important
Has this guy ever been on a rural road?
infrastructure facilities. Together, we mobilize more than 1.5 trillion rand in new investment commitments.
Ooh.
This has led to the opening of new factories,
Where?
new data centers,
Where?
new production
Well,
lines,
new data centers in
and
Western
the
Cape.
improvement in a number of mines as well.
Yeah, no.
Master plans have been finalized in 8 industries, including clothing, and textiles, poultry, sugar, automotive,
Meanwhile,
furniture, steel, tourism, and
300,000
forestry.
industrial jobs have abandoned South Africa.
We have
past decade.
provided support to more than 1,000 black industrialists
Oh,
over the
racism.
last 5 years. And today,
Yeah.
more than 500,000 workers own shares in the companies that they work for.
Okay.
We've made this progress by working in partnership and continuing to build consensus.
By shaking down industry.
We came together
The grift.
to tackle the challenge of youth unemployment. Working with private sector partners, we established the Youth Employment Service,
Which has accomplished
which
nothing.
has created over 144,000 work experiences for young people.
Work experiences. They sit around and rake
We have
fleas.
worked across government and with NGOs to implement the presidential employment stimulus,
The what?
which has created more than 1.9 million work and livelihood opportunities
Opportunities.
for unemployed South Africans.
That's not a job.
And as the country confronted the scourge of gender-based violence and
You haven't
femicide,
confronted it. That's the problem.
South Africans rallied together in defense of the lives and the safety of the women of our country.
When? Where?
A national strategic
Sifatso
plan
Pule,
on gender-based
murdered.
violence was developed, together with civil society as a whole of society response to this national emergency. New laws were introduced
New
to
law.
strengthen the response
Crush liberty.
of the criminal justice system, and centers that were established to provide support to survivors of gender-based violence.
And who has received these benefits?
On Friday, I signed into law
Oh, of course you did.
the establishment of a National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide.
Oh, that's 30 years later.
This council will lead and coordinate our country's national response to dealing with gender-based violence.
30 years later.
We have worked together to rebuild community policing forums and to provide them with the resources they need to be more effective in the fight against crime. This will continue as we have to reach many other community policing forums. We have increased the number of police on the street by 20,000 over the last 2 years and established specialized task teams in the police to tackle illegal mining, cable theft, cash-in-transit heists, gangsterism, other criminal activities, including economic crimes. This work is producing results.
No, it's not.
Arrests are being made,
Where? Who?
perpetrators are being sent to jail,
When?
and in many areas, the incidence
Thank
of
you,
such
Christopher.
crimes
And
is
Carol.
slowly becoming reduced.
Slowly.
Even under difficult conditions, over the last 5 years, we have made progress together in tackling poverty and improving people's lives.
Poverty's
We
up.
worked together to implement the national minimum wage, which has increased the wages of more than 6 million workers, including farm workers and domestic
And
workers.
how many jobs did it cost?
Last year, South Africa achieved its highest matric pass rate ever.
Did it?
Significantly, learners from schools where fees are not paid accounted for around 2/3 of the total bachelor passes obtained.
This is
These
desperation.
achievements
This is not going to move the
are the
needle.
result of a collective effort by the learners, the teachers,
The people that
the
he wants to
education
vote
officials,
aren't watching
the
this.
parents, and communities. They are also the result of programs to support children from poor families, including the Child Support Grant,
More
the
welfare.
School Feeding Program,
More welfare.
and the increase in no-fee schools.
Taken from the hands of the few taxpayers.
Working together, we have sustainably increased financial support for students from poor and working-class
It's not
families.
sustainable when it's welfare.
We have doubled the number of students receiving support from NSFAS over the last 5 years to well over 1 million in the last academic year. And we have reasserted our country's presence on the global stage,
Here we go.
providing a strong voice for the developing world,
No.
particularly the global south, and for the oppressed and the powerless everywhere.
Rohingya, Myanmar.
We have worked towards silencing the guns throughout our continent,
No, you haven't.
including through diplomacy and the deployment of our South African National Defense Force personnel as peacekeepers in a number of areas on our continent.
More coups in the past 3 years than the past decade.
Just a few days ago, the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces, our parliament that is, concluded the 6th work of the 6th Parliament.
I can't even say it.
Over the course of 5 years, members of Parliament from all parties represented in Parliament have worked diligently to implement a clear electoral mandate to transform our country.
To what?
They have worked
Failed
alongside South Africans to consider and pass several transformative laws. They have convened
Racist.
public hearings in every part of the country,
And ignored the public in every case.
received thousands of submissions
And ignored them all.
on every bill, and conducted their proceedings in an open and transparent manner
No, they weren't.
as dictated by our Constitution.
Doesn't matter because you ignored them anyway.
From strengthening the laws against gender-based violence to making South African Sign Language our 12th official language,
Oh, what an accomplishment.
from ensuring transparency and accountability in political party funding to introducing the national health insurance, this Parliament has drawn on the views and the wishes of the people of South Africa.
Really?
As the work of Parliament has come to an end, we thank all members of this 6th Parliament for their hard work and dedication over the last 5 years.
Blue light escorts.
We thank the presiding officers, the leaders of all political parties, the chairs of committees, the whips, and all the parliamentary staff for the work that they put in to make the 6th Parliament a working parliament.
Wow, now what?
Fellow South Africans,
Yes.
the last 5 years have been a time of rebuilding and recovery.
No, it's been a period of destruction.
It has
collapse.
been about working together, not only to meet the challenges of the moment, but to put in place firm foundations for a better future for our country.
It's been about stealing as much as you can.
As this 6th administration indeed draws to a close, and as we prepare for the 7th administration, let us build on the progress that we have made.
Is that it?
At this moment in our path to renewal, we cannot afford to turn back.
Oh.
There is more work that still needs to be done.
More racial
Reposition
oppression.
our country.
More racial oppression.
Let us draw strength and encouragement from the difficulties we have overcome together. I call upon all South Africans.
Yeah, Helene, for being a smartass here, that is a reference to the idiocy of the ANC in paying someone a 6-figure salary to fake sign language at the funeral of Nelson Mandela, which the entire frickin' world watched. That's what's a reference to. It's not disrespect for deaf people. It's disrespect for the ANC. Stop being a toad yourself.
A country and a better future. May God continue to bless South Africa and to protect its people. Nkosi sikelela iAfrika.
Yeah, right.
Morena boloka setjhaba sa heso. God seën Suid-Afrika. Mudzimu ha baphathotshedze Afrika tshipembe. Hosi katekisa Afrika. I thank you all and happy voting tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and on Wednesday. Thank you.
Well, good riddance, Cyril. I don't often address people in the chat for things, but I'm sorry. But Helene, that's the second time you interrupted me to complain about something. I don't know why you're complaining in the chat. If you don't want to hear what I've got to say, other people are broadcasting it. And you can go to SABC, or you can go to ENCA, or you can go to News 24 and watch it. People are tuning in so that I refute the nonsense, throws facts and figures out there, and for the lighthearted and entertaining response. So there. And if I've offended you, then I'm sorry. I'm tired of tap dancing and tiptoeing around people who are disrespectful to me. I was not making fun of the hearing impaired. I was insulting the ANC, who hired a fraud to do sign language at the funeral of Nelson Mandela. We don't forget. We don't forget. This is a corrupt party of the highest order. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's still standing there. Oh, no, there, he's gone. He finally left. Okay. He finally left. Okay. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right. Thanks to Sue Walsh for the links. And then I actually wound up getting the proper link in the end myself, but thank you for that. All right. So, folks, yeah, vomiting, exactly. This is, as far as campaign speeches go, it was pathetic. As far as an address to the nation, it was even worse. It's nothing but lies and bogus nonsense. I mean, this is the shortest he's ever spoke. It's an old reference. Well, Helene, please give me the name of another very attractive black woman who was murdered in the past week that the media has covered. The past month. The past 3 months. It is a very old reference. It is a very old reference. Hey, Paul, how's it going, man? Long time. Long time. Good to see you there. Paul Boykies. I was talking to Paul Farrell, though, but oit die Blau van onze Himmel. Yeah, well, this is just, this was, as speeches go, this has got to be the shortest time he ever spoke. He's gone before the half hour is over. He started a couple minutes late, and he's gone before the half hour is over. This was full of total nonsense. We have revitalized, we have re-energized, we have prosecuted. Whom have you prosecuted? Please, somebody, let me know. I'm not going to profess to be an expert on the docket for the criminal justice system for South Africa, but I do follow the media. And I don't recall any prosecutions except for Zandili Gumeda, who finally appeared in court for the 168 charges of fraud leveled against her. She's in court now. But Ace Magashule, Zwelim Kizi, Minir Palapala, what re-energized criminal justice system? What gender-based violence effort? What have you done? Who here has received, who knows somebody has received counseling, compensation from this gender-based violence fund that he's talking about? Where does that come from? Where's that money at? Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. It's just ridiculous nonsense. Absolute nonsense. The guy is, I mean, it's like Joe Biden getting up and yesterday hailing George Floyd as a hero, insulting the millions of Americans who've died in service to the nation. This weekend is about the fallen soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen who have died in service to this nation in peace and war. That's what this weekend is about. Not about Joe Biden and his promoting black supremacy. Not about Joe Biden and his lying about a man who induced his own death, who by the coroner's own report did not die as a consequence of the actions of the police, but because he ingested fentanyl. He ingested fentanyl. Yet police officers were sent to prison, where the situation was covered up, the entire country was blown apart because of this nonsense. Unbelievable. Yeah, exactly, RJ. Nothing but lip flapping, nothing burgers. Exactly. There was not a single thing in that speech other than asking people to obey the law and be well behaved on election day. That's the only thing of any merit whatsoever. That's it. That's it. That's it. Well, Helene, I don't need their names. You have made a pointless point that I gave an old reference, and I'm asking, I can't give a more recent reference. So we should forget about Tsitsifatso Pule, who was 9 months pregnant, hung from a tree and murdered on a contract killing by her lover. We should forget her because it's been too long. I haven't forgot Amy Beale, who was stoned to death because she was white, blonde, and blue-eyed in the Cape Flats in 1994. A graduate student murdered. And the murderers set free by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Haven't forgotten that. Haven't forgotten that. Yeah. Not going to forget the criminals who take the lives away from people prematurely. Yeah, Derek Chauvin is still sitting in jail, and he did not cause the death of George Floyd. Yep. Yep, Dune server, Amy Beale. Yeah, exactly right. So we should forget the victims of the nonsense perpetrated by criminals. No. We honor the dead who've been taken from us prematurely. We let people know about them. There's no such thing as an old reference. No such thing. Anyway, yeah, this is just ridiculous. Jim Crow, aka Mr. Magoo, showered with his dog. Yeah, I hear that. Michael Holmes wants to know if this is abuse of power. Michael, I don't know. I mean, look, the president, the leader of the nation can call a press conference anytime he wants. The media doesn't have to cover it. They don't have to cover it. I mean, they hid Donald Trump speaking on January 6th. When Donald Trump went on Twitter because nobody would come to the White House press room to listen to what he had to say, to tell people to obey the law and go home and not go into the Capitol building. That's what Donald Trump did twice, 2 live broadcasts, which he did on Twitter. I didn't even know you could live broadcast on there, but you can on January 6th of 2021. He told people that. And then, of course, none of the mainstream media covered that story. And then Twitter shut down his account after he did the second live broadcast and then lied and claimed that he was perpetrating an insurrection. No one has to go cover Cyril Ramaphosa's speech, but the media does it because he's the president of the country. And, you know, chief executives of countries do this all the time. Trump used the platform to garner votes. Biden uses the platform. It's just Leon Pandey. Hey, thank you, Leon. Any relation to Artie. They do that. That's just the nature of things. Not much you can do about it, but this was just crass and uncalled for and just sad and pathetic. I mean, honestly, what was added to the narrative based on what he did here? The only thing of any value could have been said in 90 seconds. As president of the country, he could come out and said, we have voting underway with the main voting day on Wednesday, May 29th, and I'm calling on all parties and all citizens to be lawful and abstain from violent activity. Please allow the voting to go forward in a peaceful fashion. If you do not, we will catch you, we will prosecute you, and imprison the guilty. That's it. Boom. Case done. Instead of 26 minutes, he could have done it in 90 seconds. That would have been it. That's the only useful thing that came out of the entire speech. Lie after lie after lie. We have re-energized. We have done this. We came back. And then he isn't it ironic that the man who's involved in an alleged money laundering scheme with Pala Pala. By the way, folks, I got my ticket last week for South Africa, and a new requirement was there. It wasn't there previously. Now, it's always been a requirement, but it wasn't online. The requirement is to declare currency. You can come into South Africa with $10,000 in foreign currency equivalent, $10,000 or 25,000 Rand, or both. But you cannot come into the country with $580,000 stuffed in a suitcase on a flight and not declare that to customs and immigration. Now, I was forced to fill out a form electronically online to come to South Africa this time, which has never happened in the 30 years I've been going to South Africa. I was forced to do that online this week, and no big deal, but I had nothing to declare. But Ramaphosa is involved in an alleged money laundering scheme over Nkole, whatever the hell they're called, Nkole cattle, and he's talking about prosecuting criminals and getting rid of people who are accused of crime. Yet the man is complicit in it. Or by all accounts, he's complicit in it, based on the information we've had out there. Thank you for the super chats. Had one earlier from Pero Ruan, then had a second one there, and now Usina just gave 10 pounds. Thank you for that, Usina. Look, I mean, this is hypocrisy of the highest order. There's the one from Usina. Thank you for that. This is of the highest order. This is total nonsense. I mean, what an entire waste of time. I was doing the news anyway, so it's not a waste of my time and your time as we discuss this. But he moved the needle, not at all. Didn't move the needle at all. Didn't move the needle at all. I mean, who was this intended for? First off, people in Shoshaguvwe, people in Alexandria, people in Mitchell's Plains, people in Khayelitsha are not sitting around on their mobile phones for the most part watching Cyril Ramaphosa speak on a Sunday. They're not sitting in front of SABC television. They're not watching this. The people who he wants to vote for the ANC. So who was this intended for? Liberals? The black middle class? Trying to bring them back after he scored an own goal with a national health insurance scam? Wow, I don't know. This was just sad on so many levels. And it just shows you, for all you fools, and there are a lot of fools out there, any fool who uttered the phrase and even for a microsecond believed in the concept of Ramaphoria in December of 2017, January, February of 2018. Ramaphosa, here's the guy, a successful businessman that will turn the country around. All of you fools that were hoodwinked, who aren't bright enough to do analysis, who fell for that, and then don't want to admit it, should look in the mirror for introspection. I cautioned people at that time that there was a window for change to possibly happen. It could happen, but the ANC has to be willing to change. Ramaphosa has to be willing to change. And I'm on record for that. You can see my analysis of that from 2018 on YouTube for the Great Decisions lecture series when I said there's a chance, a narrow window. And the window closed because they had no intention of being a legitimate government governing South Africa. They're a kleptocracy. All they want is to steal, rapaciously steal. It is our turn to eat and get whitey. That's what the ANC has become. A multiracial liberation movement is transformed into a black supremacy party. A party that ironically imposes racist or race-based legislation on its minority, which is the very definition of oppression. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Eileen finds me very repetitive. Pala Pala. Well, Eileen, apparently you are just being a troll and not paying attention. On June 29th of 2021, I predicted what would happen in South Africa days later. And I was correct. So, yeah, anyway. ANC will distribute streetwise to... Yeah, probably will do that. Vaymeyer says, Mandela said, if the ANC do what the apartheid government did, you must do this. Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. He did say that. And they're doing exactly what the apartheid government did. They are racializing society endlessly. So, anyway. So yeah, it's this was just sad, folks. I mean, sad. I mean, what do we say about this? He looked like he fell asleep. I mean, I joked about falling asleep early on, but he looked like he was falling asleep. And we have revitalized and re-energized. Wasn't that funny? He talked about energy and excitement. I'm like, the guy, it's just ironic that he's talking about excitement when, he could put paint to sleep. It was unbelievable. Zero business acumen. Exactly. He got rich from equity being handed to him. That's correct. And Helene says, we all know that. Really? Really? You Karens still vote for the ANC. You Karens still excuse the ANC all the time. Yep. So knowing about it and excusing it are two different things. Joking Atheist wants to know if I think the ANC is rigging elections. Look, I'm not going to make that claim, Joking Atheist. I have no evidence of it whatsoever. I hope that they're dumb enough to think that they're still going to get the plurality or possibly even a majority, and so there's no need for them to stuff ballot boxes or cheat. And I hope that the IEC, despite all of its challenges, does retain a degree of independence and is honest. My concern will be in the counting of the votes. That's where my concern is. And unfortunately, because of the late arrival of my passport, I did not apply for observer status for the IEC Center in Midrand, but I'm going to still try to see if I can't get in there at some point and take a look at what's going on. But you tolerate the ANC, Helene. You're making excuses for it instead of attacking the ANC and spreading the word about who they are. It's Joe and the Cyril. Yeah, it's the Joe and Cyril show, folks. So watch Joe stumble up a flight of stairs and watch Cyril stumble over words on a teleprompter. There you go. Chris says they will commit fraud. Well, they may, but I have no evidence of it. I'm not going to level the accusation without any evidence of it. I can tell you it's possible. It is very possible to commit fraud. It's done in elections all over the world, including right here in this very state. Happens all the time, and it's really sad. Truly sad. But what are we to believe about this election? It's just a matter of days away. Some people are already voting in the special ballots and all this stuff. But the actual election day is May 29th, the main election day. We've had the overseas voting take place. And on that main election day, millions of South Africans will go to the polls. But here's the bigger picture. Here's the bigger picture. Millions of South Africans won't go vote. And that should tell you something. Tell you a number of things. After the emotional, enthusiastic, tearful opportunity to vote in 1994 from millions of South Africans who've been denied the vote their entire life, yet now South Africans can't be bothered to go to the poll just 30 years later. Now, in some societies, that's a consequence of opulence, of success. People don't feel the need to go vote because things are going well. Infrastructure's there, jobs are there, growth is there, opportunities for their offspring are there, their progeny exceed how they've achieved in life, and things get better and easier, more prosperous, and lifespans get longer, and health is better. In some countries, that's what happens in Western Europe, in North America, in parts of Asia. And so people just become, agnostic. They don't go vote. But in South Africa, that's not the case. South Africa has demonstrably more poor people today than it did in 1994. The population of South Africa in 1994 is around 34 million people. Today, the poor black population of South Africa alone exceeds 30 million black South Africans. Those living in abject poverty under the ANC are nearly equivalent, just black South Africans, nearly equivalent to the entire population of South Africa 30 years ago. Now put that in your pipe and smoke it. How frightening is that? Now, they can blame Jan van Riebeck and Hendrik Verwoerd and Forster and F.W. de Klerk, which is ironic, the guy who ended the system. I mean, he didn't start the end. The end was started by P.W. Botha, but he ended the system, and he's blamed for it. It's just comical, to say the least. Oh, yes, but he was in government for years. Yeah, well, you don't get to rise to power and change things unless you are in government. You don't just walk in out of nowhere and change. And look at Donald Trump, what he tried to do and how the institution fought against him and undermined and committed treason when he was president. So, just nonsense. You can blame Jan, you can blame Harold, you can blame, Henry Verwoerd, all you want. You can blame apartheid. But the failures of the past 30 years are the ANCs. How did the ANC get such a good start early on? Well, because of the goodwill around the world. Suddenly, South Africa was no longer a pariah state. South African Airways, which had been profitable under the National Party as a state-owned enterprise, which I don't advocate for, but a statement of fact, the South African Airways could fly anywhere now. They didn't have to waste fuel flying around Africa. They could land in Africa. They could spread a network over Africa. But who has spread a network over Africa in the last 30 years? Ethiopian. SN Brussels, which used to be one airline. Now it's Brussels Airlines. It keeps changing. But the successor airline is Brussels Airlines. Ethiopian. Kenya Airways in trouble financially, but they've also spread their wings. But Ethiopian is the major one, as well as Turkish Airways. These companies have found routes all over Africa, while the SAA has shrunk to nothingness. Business opportunities abound. Anglo-American, before it was shaken down for equity and handed over to people who earned nothing but got it simply based on their skin pigmentation, Anglo-American merged with Ashanti Gold. from Ghana because the gold was becoming too expensive to mine in South Africa, and they were aware of that, and they were prescient and decided years in advance that this was a smart move. But most South African businesses are retreating now. Standard Bank, ShopRite, Game, retreating from Africa instead of becoming the powerhouse in Africa. There's another super chat from Peron. Here's my question. 100 Rand, thank you. Here's my question. Majority rule in democracy. So if majority that can vote don't vote, isn't that a majority rule that they don't want current choice parties? Well, you can make that argument. That's true, but it doesn't change the election outcome. Yep, there you go. Arctic says it was Mr. Education. He parachuted in to get regime change. Sellout. Well, I'm not making an argument in favor or against F.W. de Klerk, but the ANC attacking and blaming F.W. de Klerk for apartheid is comical. And blaming him for the failures of their policy for the past 30 years is simply disingenuous and factually incorrect. That's the point I'm making there. Yeah, South Africa don't even own their own fleet. They lease the aircraft, most of them. They only own a couple. Yep. Used to have an airline, I think railways too. Yes, Kurtz, used to have airline, used to have railways, used to have highways, used to have electricity. Now, of course, we're going to hear the counter argument that most South Africans weren't connected to the grid. Well, yeah, but it doesn't take 30 years to connect the country. It didn't take America 30 years to electrify, and we are demonstrably larger than South Africa, which much more dispersed population. And you have fewer areas to send remote electrical connections to than we did. Yeah. Let's play a what-if game. If the DA came 30 years ago, would South be a different place today? I would say that if the DA came to power today, South Africa would still be a leftist country with welfare systems and with state-owned enterprises. The DA just thinks they can run them better. We would not have seen the corruption that we've seen. There'd be a very different country. And we wouldn't have seen the racialization of South African fashion we've seen it. Also, we wouldn't see 30 million black South Africans living in abject poverty. Wouldn't have happened. Would not have happened. So, yeah, South Africa would be very different today. It would be a much better place. But the DA didn't exist 30 years ago. Did not exist. Its antecedent predecessors didn't have the heft or experience to achieve a better outcome. But the DA, been around for about a little over 20 years. They could have gotten a very different outcome, yes. No, not incorrect, Arctic. They have 9 aircraft, according to the last publicly released figures, and 6 of them are leased. So they own 3 aircraft. Ramaphosa should have reached out to Joe Biden's doctor. Bebop says, I don't see Phil Craig's name on the panel. Oh, he's not on there. No, Phil Craig is not running for office. No, Phil Craig was pressy enough to realize that the racist attacks against him, the ad hominem attacks against him, would be too distracting and too detrimental to the referendum party, and people wouldn't vote for it because Phil Craig was on the ticket. So he's not on the ticket for the youngest guy. Mr. Brown is the guy, not Brown, but the other guy is one we had on the program. He is the top candidate for the referendum party. In the top 10, I think like 6 of them are below the age of 30 or around the age of 30. So, yeah, no, that's why Phil Craig is not on the ballot. He's not running for office. No, apartheid was not a white ideology. That's also lost here in the rhetoric from the ANC and from others. The reality is this: apartheid is separateness, separate development. It led to racial outcomes and racism, but that's not what it was in its essence. What apartheid was in its essence was meant to be separate development where people could protect their cultures. And that's exactly what Jacob Zuma and MK are talking about, except they don't want tolerance. They want elimination of anything that's not their way. They want traditional leadership. They want a king in charge of everything. They want no constitution. They want no law. They want a Nkosi to sit around and adjudicate decisions and send people to prison or take things from people based on that. That's what they want. They want no Roman Dutch law. They want total abrogation of the current system, which is not apartheid. It's not separate development. It is one development. So, and it's a racist development. So, yeah, it's crazy. Don't talk about Boeing. Arctic wants a king. Well, you're not alone. Jeremy Nell, I think, wants a king, and we know that Byron Shepard wants a king. I thought they started off as PFP and were around before 94. They weren't the Democratic Alliance. They became the Independent Alliance. I said antecedent roots. There were parties they claim origin from, but they are not the same party. Joe Amelia says, you have had almost every RP candidate but me. I'm so offended. Expect the cartel at your doorstep. Joe, I didn't have you on because I'd have to ask a very awkward question about being an American running for political office in a foreign country. I didn't want to do that and put you on the spot, Joe. I have had a lot of referendum party candidates on. Thanks for being here. Joe Amelia, folks, a candidate for, are you on the provincial list? You're on the national list, Joe? And where do you sit on the referendum parties? Well, it would be provincial, wouldn't be national, would it? But where do you sit on their list of candidates? Now, lady says, not voting is going to change a thing. Yeah, well, Paul says, in Afrikaans we say, op die 29 May, na ons gezin het. No, gaan ons praat. Okay, well, that's one option. Yes, they're going to blame winter for load shedding. Look, I told you before, folks. So Helene thinks I only rotate old news. Well, it's not old news if it's a continuing story developing, and here it is. I have been the analyst that has been telling you for over a year that load shedding will be positively impacted by the millions, well, thousands, tens of thousands, now hundreds of thousands of South Africans going off-grid. Installing solar photovoltaic panels on rooftops and on their property would reduce the demand, which would allow Eskom to eventually slow down the pace of load shedding or eventually end it if enough of them get off the grid. Now, other things have played a role. The burning of diesel, crazy how much diesel they're burning, and some reactors have been brought back online or restored to capacity. But I have been telling you this all along. Business Tech Today runs a story, or is it My Broadband? One of them runs a story saying that the reason why the load shedding isn't taking place right now is primarily because nearly 6 or 5.5 gigawatts of installed solar photovoltaic capacity is in South Africa now. Yep, and I've been telling you that for ages. So there you go. That's an old story that is a new story that continues to be a story. Ramaphosa should have reached out to Biden's doctor. I already read that. $100 says cupcake is 15 minutes late. Oh, that was a long time ago. Slippery Pickle, we already had it. We already did the thing, man. Yep. So did I miss anything? Hey, Gabriel shows how that was one of the best airlines. Yeah, it was. It was. And it was a state-owned enterprise. I don't like state-owned enterprises. I think they destroy jobs, they interfere in the marketplace, and they influence cost and in a negative fashion for consumers. Yep. All right. So did I catch everything? The chat, we got Pararon's super chat in there. Usina gave a 10-pound super chat. Thank you for that. That was pretty awesome. 10 pounds. And there were some more before that, and I missed them now, but I'll get them later on. All right. So who else we missed here in the chat? Joe says, I'm number 10. Okay, number 10. Well, the referendum party is going to have to get a lot of votes for you to get into the office there. So good luck for Joe. Too late for your apologies. Your question is easy answer. I'm South African as well. It's not too late, Joe. Would you like an interview? Joe, would you like an interview? I haven't heard from you. The only time I heard from Joe recently is he sent me a link to the article he just had published on the Daily Friend. I'm happy to interview you, Joe. If you'd like, if you ask me to interview, I'll do it today, or we can do it tomorrow. But I'm flying tomorrow, but not till the evening. ANC sabotage cartels are holding off Eskom due to elections. I didn't say it was a bad article, Joe. It was a good article. I also, and that one talks about Phil Craig. I don't know how Daily Friend is, how they get on there. They have contributors. They don't have anything on there for article submissions. So I just called them with an article that I wrote, and hopefully it will be on there. Well, Hendo, it looks like the parade is going to be canceled. So if it's canceled, I may be able to do it earlier in the day, interview with Joe, or I could do it this evening. South Africa, it's Sunday, so we could do it after this. Yeah. Yes, scientist. Do people not watch my program? When I got my passport, I told people on Ronaldo on Friday. I told people on Thursday. And I said it on the rugby, so maybe that's why people don't know. Plus, it's people have been talking about, we've created a new group. It's the Make South Africa Great group, Futsec ANC. So that's the name of my tour. It's the Make South Africa Great tour this time. And I will be in the Western Cape. Maybe Joe Amelia and I can link up on Wednesday. I'm going to try to go around to polling stations and interview people. So that will be on Wednesday, assuming my flight isn't delayed. I'm not flying by American Airlines, so chances of getting to South Africa are pretty good because I'm on Delta. Yeah, got 163 viewers. Great time for an interview. You want me to bring on Joe right now? Okay. You want to come on now, Joe? Unavailable tonight and tomorrow night. Oh, but you're on here right now. People are saying bring Joe on right now. I can open a Zoom window right now and bring Joe Emilio on. Come on, folks. Yeah, tell folks. Yes, I'm going to be in South Africa, Joe. Come on, Joe. I'm going to be in South Africa Tuesday night, and I'll be there for a month. I will be in the Western Cape from the 28th until the 5th of June when I fly to OR Tambo. I will be at Loftus for the Bulls quarterfinal of URC. And on Friday or Saturday this coming week, I'll be at DHL Greenpoint Stadium for that game as well. Yep. Come on, Joe. Come on. You guys, give me a little peer pressure there. Tell Joe Emilio to come on right now. I will open a Zoom window. I will do it right now. Look at that. Look at that. Joe has a new skit, I reckon, Chris, that he probably wants to drop on you. You must stop by and say hi. Daughter is so big now, you'll be shocked. No, kids grow like weeds, man. And Joe is not taking the bait. He's got a chance to come on right now. What I'll do is I'll record it, and then we'll upload the interview separately, and it'll be on there. So Mario Falante Rebella. Hey, Mario. Cool. Good to see you there again. Everybody's saying, come on, Joe. Come on, Joe. No, we don't want Joe Biden. We want Joe Emilio. We want Joe. We want Joe. Come on, Joe. Man up. I can give you 5 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Emilio will be our guest in 5 minutes. Woo! That works out perfectly if you start a new hour. Don't leave the broadcast, folks. Stay right here now. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm going to start up a Zoom session and send Joe Emilio the link. All right, here we go. So let me open up Zoom. So I'm going to be off camera. You'll still be able to hear me as I get this thing set up. Give me a second here. Ooh, Joe Emilio. He's got to go put his makeup on. Joe's got to put his makeup on. Helene, it's a scam. Helene, you're so funny. It's been entertaining having Helene on here tonight. New meeting. Okay, let me go. Zoom. There we go. Okay. And okay, my microphone's on there. Recording in progress. Here we go. Record to this computer.
Recording in progress.
All right, so let me switch over, and now I've got Zoom on the screen. There you go, folks. Joe Emilio will be joining us in just a minute. Yeah, he's putting on his eyelashes. Telling Joe to take his curlers out. Ladies and gentlemen, if you stick with us for a couple minutes, Joe Emilio, candidate for the referendum party in the Western Cape, will be on the program in just a minute. Dodgy Joe, as we like to call Joe, a comedian from the United States via Texas, Egypt, and South Africa. It's going to be a short interview. Okay, well, then I'll still stay on after the interview's over. All right, that's fine, Joe. Got it. Don't type. Take care of your makeup, man. Then you can come on. Okay, I got to send you the link. I hadn't done that yet. So, yeah, Joe's probably like, where's the link, man? You promised me a link. All right, here we go. So let me send this to Joe Emilio. I've got his number here somewhere. There he is. There it is. Revolution or Racism, Cape Independence, Defying Odds. Okay, there's the link. I have sent the link to Joe Emilio, folks. Let's go, Brandon. Joe can even bring his voice with him. Yeah, I heard the referendum party was handing out divorce or voice or something. What were they handing out there? Yeah. All right, there's Erica. Hey, Erica, just tuning in, and you're about to be treated to Joe Emilio. Yeah, half your shoulder's missing. Well, that's because my microphone. Now it's there. But can you still hear me? Can you still hear me with the microphone already there? Give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me, because the microphone is now about 1.5 feet away from my face. And so that's why my shoulder is missing. So I bring it back. There we go. How about there? So not all the shoulder's missing there. You guys hear it. Yeah, put it back. Put it back. You can't hear me. Exactly. Yeah, sound is bad. That's why it's over here. So don't worry. I will take that off. I just have that up because I was recording something. So let me get rid of that. Choose virtual background. None. And there you go. All right. Now we have the dead sexy look back. All right, good. Too much echo. Yeah, exactly. That's why the microphone is up here close to my face. Did Joe Emilio come on? Hang on a second here. Nope, he's not there yet. Okay, I thought he popped up. My screen just went busy there for a second. All right, so the sound is back. All right, we are waiting for Joe Emilio to come on, a candidate for the referendum party in the Western Cape. Major Chronic 206 is back. Hot dogs. Yep. All right. So, again, Cyril Ramaphosa, this is just so sad. This was a pathetic performance. Really doesn't move the needle at all for anyone. I don't know who is going to watch that and decide, you know what? I should be voting for the ANC and go vote for the ANC based on his performance tonight. Just utter nonsense, folks. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So we're waiting for Joe here. Joe is going out. He's run out to the tuck shop to buy some data. Sorry, folks. We would have had Joe on, but he's run off to the tuck shop to buy some data. Oh, my goodness. Hey, I got to charge this other phone. It's dead. Ugh. I have a business phone. Should have been an email. Wait, you mean the conversation with Cyril? Yeah, probably should have been in an email. But who's going to open his email? Love to get Joe's impressions on the state address. Well, we will if we get him on here. See how long we have. Now Joe's just playing clickbait with us. Anyway, but Yeah, Marilyn said there was too much echo. People saying there was too much echo, so I brought it back. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go. The real question is, will Joe appear with or without the voice? Yeah, Power Rowan says, and thank you for the super chat, Power, says it was Cyril's best speech because it was short. It was short. Data bundle reload shortly. Exactly. Joe's coming now. Okay. Just waiting for him to show up. Anyway. Yeah, so look, I did not exclude Joe Emilio from my sequence of guests. I just didn't, for whatever reason, the referendum party asked me to interview those other candidates, and so I went with that, and I got busy, never got back to him. Joe is being a no-show. Biden should apologize now. Oh, here he comes. Joe Emilio, folks. All right, get ready. Here we go. He's connecting. And he's connected, and there he is. Hey, folks, welcome back to the program. This is Chris Wyatt Reports, and the Indaba African channel. And with me now is none other than Dodgy Joe Emilio, as we lovingly, affectionately call Joe, the famous American / Egyptian, not Ethiopian / South African comedian from the referendum party. You are a candidate, and you're on number 10 on the list, Joe. Tell us all about it.
Thanks, Chris, for the very last moment inclusion on your show.
Oh, look at this dig, man. Look at that. That's not a real thank you. That's an ANC thank you.
No, I was actually just teasing you, which is why, like I said, give me 5 minutes, because the tuck shop had like quite a long queue, so I was just taking a bit of time to get the airtime.
If you're wondering, you had to go buy airtime in a tuck shop. We were joking about that.
But yeah, man, being a candidate for a referendum party, it's been a blast. I don't think there's right now there's not much a candidate can do except for try and support the party as much as possible, tell friends and family about the party itself, why people should vote for it. Like you said, it depends on how many votes we get. And yeah, number 10 is quite far down the list. So we need quite a lot of votes in order for me to even step foot into parliament, which doesn't really bother me. I think there's a few other guys ahead of me that are far more qualified to be in parliament and make really good arguments. So I'm happy to just support the party. I don't know where I'll fall in with the party after elections, because it all depends on how many votes we get and stuff like that. I don't know if I'll be more involved or kind of have the same position that I have now, which is basically just creating content for the referendum party and stuff, kind of on a volunteer basis as well. But yeah, I don't know. If you have any other questions, ask me. I don't.
Well, Joe, yeah, I do have a lot of questions. I know you don't have a lot of time, but we'll get to it. First off, excuse me. We'll be there and not very far from you, so we will link up. I'll come by and I'll be prepared to wipe the feline hair off my arms. But Joe's got some lovely cats, but they affect my respiratory system a little bit. But no, I'll definitely come by. We'll link up. I don't know what you're doing on election day, but my plan is to try to get around to several polling stations, talk to people on the street, that sort of thing. I don't know what your plan is. Maybe we can link up and do something together if that's not going to violate the terms of your party or whatever, or you can just show me around or take me to a poll, whatever your plan is. But that's coming on Wednesday, assuming my flight gets there on time, which is Delta. It should be fine. Anyway, I'll be staying in the Western Cape because of the late arrival, but I do have questions for you. So we've seen in the past people who've been active on social media start or get involved with political parties. Of course, Roman Kabanak was the Purple Cow Party or something like that a few years back. They got, I think, 15,000 votes in the 2019 election, and Roman has just kind of walked away from politics, at least publicly. Yeah. He might be doing it privately, but we don't know. But what made you as a known, should I say well-known comedian? People know who you are in the Western Cape as a known comedian. As a well-known, I think that's fair. As a well-known, I mean, there's a big crowd there the night I went and heard you speak. You weren't funny, but there were a lot of people there. No, Joe was hilarious. But
I remember them laughing though. Yeah, maybe you just didn't get the jokes because you're not, South African or whatever.
They were just drinking a lot of beer before you came on stage. No, but seriously, Joe that was at Somerset West a couple years ago. So Joe was opening act for none other than Barry Hilton. So Joe, as a noted personality, and then also your social media content, your TikTok now, which really does a lot, I think does really well, and then your YouTube channel, which has really grown impressively over the past year and a half.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And I look, I'm desperate to stay ahead of you. I can't have Joe Emilio's comedy channel pass me. Anyway, no, but what drove you to this? I know that you're frustrated about what's going on in South Africa. What drove you to say, hey, listen, this new party's there. Let me go link up with them. And then how did you wind up as a candidate on their platform? Because here in America, you don't have to impress a party. You could be any idiot and run for office. I mean, I don't know if you saw this, but I just ran for office and lost.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I remember. It started off as a bit of I don't want to say joke, but
a lark. Lark. How's that better? Lark.
Yeah. Like I saw Phil tweet about candidates for the RP, right? I can't remember exactly what he was saying. And then I kind of quote tweeted him and said like, oh, well, genuinely, part of me was joking and part of me was like, I actually genuinely want to know what is the process of becoming a candidate. So that's what I tweeted. I said, so how does one become a candidate? Next thing I know, he's telling Joan to send me links and stuff like that for the application and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, whoa. I just wanted to know what the process is. I don't necessarily want to apply. But then I was like, well, let me answer it. Let me do the application. And at the beginning, I was going to do it jokingly. Like I was going to put Deadpool as my name and from like where am I from is like Cyril's asshole or something like really jovial and trying to be as funny as possible. But then I was like, you know what? That's not going to look good on me. I'm friends with Phil. I respect Phil. I don't want to like waste their time. I'm sure they have precious time. And here's me trying to waste their time with a fake application. So I was like, you know what? Let me fill this in seriously. Let me actually fill this out if I get chosen, because it's application, right? So I could be rejected, which is fine. I would have been okay with that. Like, I don't know, like obviously, like I said earlier, I'm not a politician. I have no, I've never studied politics or anything of the sort. So for me, I was like, there's probably like far more people that are more qualified than I am. I'm probably not going to get in or accepted or whatever. So I filled it out, and then about 2 weeks later, they were like, okay, cool, you're accepted and you're number 10. I was like, okay, you guys know what you've done. But yeah, then I was like, okay, well then
I guess the answer there was the joke's on you, Joe.
Exactly. And I was like, okay, well, the universe has spoken, and I think a part of me as well during that process of application, because I spoke to my wife about it as well. Like I kept it from her for a while until they told me that I was accepted, because I didn't want her to worry, and I felt like, you know what, let me tell her when there's actually something concrete. And when I told her and I spoke to her about it, and I said, like, one of the reasons why I also decided to do this is because, like, I don't know, I feel like it's I love what I do on YouTube with the news flash and commentating on news and stuff like that, but it feels in some instances where I'm just bitching and moaning and not really having an effect on things. And I felt that, well, if I have an opportunity now to be part of something really huge, part of something that will change the history of this country, am I going to let that opportunity slip? And then be basically bitching and moaning and never actually have skin in the game? Or am I going to get off my fat ass and do something about it? And I decided, you know what? I can't. When my daughter is older and asks me, Dad, what did you do for Cape Independence? Did you do anything? I want to be able to say that I tried or I did, instead of saying, you know what? I just sat on the sidelines and did nothing.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from, Joe. The current state representative, I have no real ambition to serve in the state legislature. I'd really prefer to serve in D.C., in the Congress. But the incumbent is running, and that's a strong incumbent. And the state legislator decided to run for the state Senate seat being vacated, which opened this up. And it's a good opportunity to get in and cut my teeth at that level. So I ran, and same conclusion. I can't sit around and say that I didn't step forward when it was the right time. I did. Unfortunately, it cost me a lot of money because I paid out of pocket for the campaign to trade my finances. But it was worth doing it because no one can accuse me, and I can, I can go to my maker eventually saying that, when the time was right, I stepped forward to do the right thing, just like I did in uniform for 37 years. So I appreciate where you're coming from there. So you got on the list for the party. What's campaigning been like? I mean, what kind of reception are you getting? The people are joking about, I saw something about the referendum party, it was cooking a braai and had some voice or something like that. But I don't know but what's campaign been like? Tell us a little bit about that.
Campaign has been a lot of fun. I think we're a ragtag group of people. We're almost like just a group of awesome people, man. From I cannot even explain the different walks of life that everyone is from. We've got people who are, they don't have a lot of money. They're live in shacks and stuff. And we got people who live in very rich, affluent areas like Sea Point and stuff like that. And everybody with different ideologies, even although the one thing in common is that we all hate communists. But we have different opinions on free markets and stuff like that, and it's always a vibe hanging out with these people because we all are united by one vision, which is a better future for Cape Town, for Western Cape, for the Western Cape people especially. So that all unites us, and it doesn't matter where we're from, it doesn't matter our history, it doesn't matter what tribe we're with or religion or whatever. We all get along and we all stick together, and I think that's what makes it so much fun being around these individuals who also, mind you, a lot of them are young, which is very nice. It's very nice to see a very young candidate list, which is great. So yeah, it's always a vibe, and we like poking the bear. I'm sure you've seen when we did our manifesto launch and we shut down the border. That was a whole lot of fun.
You guys are the Nandos of political parties.
Pretty much, yeah. And it, a lot of people gave us, I don't want to say flack because that was the whole point. We wanted to upset people. It was so funny. We were like, we want to upset you, and you got upset. You literally played into our hands.
Oh, they lost their minds. You should be arrested. Oh, shut down the roads. Meanwhile, EFF shuts down entire neighborhoods, and ANC shuts down streets, and nobody notices it. But to be clear, the referendum party did not shut down the road entering Western Cape from Eastern Cape. Every time traffic came along, they vacated the roadway surface and just waved at people.
Yeah, or directed them to the other lane, told them go. Just there's people standing here, But it's always funny because people are like, oh, they blocked traffic, and I was like, I can show you pictures of how empty this road was. What traffic? There was no traffic to block.
It's not exactly a major thoroughway.
Every 15 minutes.
It's a remote rural road. People lost their minds. But one of the questions in the comments, Joe, was asking about what the party hopes for. I did interview several members of the party, and the goal is 100,000 votes in the Western Cape. Is that still the case? Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much still the case. And I saw another comment that I actually want to address about splitting votes. I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but I caught the splitting votes part, and I think that's a common concern of many voters, and that's why people need to understand that referendum party, and it's another reason why I joined them, is we have no ambition for control in terms of running things, right? We're not a party that wants to run the Western Cape. We're not even a party that wants to run the new country if it should secede. Our main goal and our main purpose, it's in the name, referendum. We want to call a referendum on Cape independence and let the people of the Western Cape decide if they want to break away from South Africa. Now, having said that, the reason why we exist is because the DA once upon a time did promise to hold a referendum on Cape independence. Even at the time, they did state that they don't support Cape independence. They never have. But they would allow a referendum. And at the time, CIAG, Cape Independence Advocacy Group, were busy talking to them, and there was negotiations and all that stuff. And then basically DA went back on their word. Alan Winde said no. And then it was the CIAG who decided, you know what? we're not just going to stop, fighting for this. We're going to have to create a political party, and we're going to call it the referendum party, because the whole idea of the referendum party is to pressure the DA into calling for that referendum that they once promised. Now, I want to add to this that people seem to think that, and this is what makes us so unique, right? So people seem to think that because we're a political party, then we must have answers to everything. How are you going to run this? How are you going to do this? And I understand, because any political party usually has those answers because they are running to be in control and govern, right? But we're not doing that. We're just trying to pressure the DA, which is why we say, if you vote for us, okay, and hopefully we bring the DA down to below 50% in the Western Cape, then they would need to be in a coalition with us and possibly the Freedom Front Plus. And our condition for a coalition is to call a referendum. It's to pressure them into calling a referendum. So we will happily be in a coalition with them once they agree to that. And we will vote in favor for a DA premier, and we will make sure that the DA still governs the Western Cape. All right, that's very important to understand. We want the DA to govern the Western Cape because they do a good job at it, and keep the ANC out of the Western Cape. We do not at all want to give an opportunity for the ANC to be in power in the Western Cape. We will definitely do anything we can to make sure that doesn't happen. And I hope that makes sense to a lot of people. And now a lot of people might be like, well, I'm still going to vote DA, or I'm still going to vote this. That's fine. You may not be our target market, because our target market is the 68% of DA voters who want Cape independence, but are also DA voters. Those are the people we're after. And 68% of DA voters is quite a big chunk of their voter base. So yeah, if you're one of those people, if you're one of those people that like the DA, but also want Cape independence, you need to vote referendum party. It's the only way you're going to get Cape independence. And at the same time, have the Western Cape govern. Have the DA govern the Western Cape. So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because the referendum party has an agreement. They've formed an agreement with the Freedom Front Plus, and they endorse and support your party. So Bebop was asking the question, who should you vote for? Well, you can answer in a second, but my thing would be vote for whomever you think is the right party to vote for. The Freedom Front Plus has a manifesto. They're committed to market capitalism, faith, family, and flag, yada, yada, yada. Similar to the ACDP, but not quite as Christian focused but there is a Christian focus as well. And the referendum party is a single issue party. If you want to really ensure that the DA is not going to get 50%, you need to vote for one of these parties, either referendum or Freedom Front Plus, that's going to push, because I believe the Freedom Front Plus, if they have sufficient votes, and with the referendum party and Freedom Front Plus, are going to also push for that referendum because they want it as well. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement. I mean, we all signed the accords as well, the Cape Exit Accords, which is basically Freedom Front Plus, referendum party, and Cape Exit. It's a promise to, or a pact, if you will, to support one another and drive or achieve Cape independence, no matter what happens. So yes, Freedom Front Plus also definitely, if you're a fan of, or if you're going to vote Freedom Front Plus, you'll also probably get Cape independence through them as well. But we're both, I mean, as far as I know, Freedom Front Plus and the referendum party are both going to pressure the DA into holding that referendum. So South Africa is going to be very interesting in the next few years. I can tell you that.
It's going to be very interesting in the next 7 days. I mean, between now and next Sunday, I will have flown to South Africa. I will have been there for the elections. I'll go to watch the Stormers defeat the Lions and end their hopes of the playoff and a winning record, and then move on from there. But so is campaigning still allowed, or is it over now officially today? Because Herman Mashaba and Action SA had their final campaign event 30 minutes before Cyril came, or an hour before Cyril came on stage. That was pretty funny. They did that in Gauteng, if I'm not mistaken. But do you have any more campaigning to do? And if so, what kind of events? And if you can share, let us. But if you can't, that's fine.
I'm not head of campaign management, so I wouldn't really know, but I do know that our final awareness campaign. So we've been doing for the past few months a lot of awareness campaigns. It's basically where we put up a few gazebos and we give flyers at the robots. And if people walk by, we tell them, if they're interested, we tell them about Cape Exit and the referendum party. So those kinds of awareness events, the last one was this past Saturday. That's where we decided to give away free Vorse because, the ANC and the EFF like to give away free KFC at their kinds of rallies or awareness, or whatever you want to call it. They just give away KFC to their supporters. We decided we'll give away Vorse to ours and to the public, those that were going by, and we gave them a flyer at the same time. So, yeah, that was a whole lot of fun. A lot of supporters came out. We even had a few signups to Cape Exit, which was great. So yeah, it was a great vibe. We had music and the braai was awesome. So yeah, we all got to eat Vorse and stuff, and it felt really, again, just an awesome vibe. And as far as I know, I'm sure there are campaigns happening, maybe not on the ground, if I can put it that way, but more like on social media. But other than that, as far as I know, no. That was the last one.
Well, that's helpful. So Rosalind Gerber asked a question about what happened to that good-looking man that's running Cape Exit the past 10 years. I believe she's talking about Des Palm. He's still running it. He's still in charge of it, is he not?
Yeah,
okay.
he still is. Yeah.
I mean, there's three groups that are known publicly for their effort for a referendum and for Cape secession. There's United Liberty Alliance, led by Hein Marks. There's the Cape Exit, led by Des Palm, and the Cape Independence Advocacy Group, formed and led by Phil Craig, who is the is architect of the referendum party. I don't know if that's a fair statement, but certainly probably the inspiration for it. I don't know if that's a fair statement, but that's the three groups, and that's Des Palm is still out there. So Joe, election day, are you going to be home taking care of the kid, or are you going to get out and obviously you got to go vote? I mean, you don't want to be a candidate and not vote. That would be bad.
Yeah, we're in a situation where we have to do like a rotational thing for the little one. So, my wife and I are going to go vote as early as we can. As early as possible. So my mom is going to sleep over to look after our little one in the morning. Well, she'll sleep over the evening before to be able to take care of her in the morning while we go out and vote. And hopefully we get done as soon as possible so that we can come back and my mom has a chance to go vote as well. So there's a bit of a rotational thing happening, so everybody has a chance to vote. Well,
yeah. Joe, listen, let me say this. I mean, I'll probably be a little bit knackered, although I got a good seat, so maybe I'll be able to sleep on the flight. But I will, if you message me privately where you're voting at and the time you think you're going to be there, I will try to make a plan to come for where I'm going to be the night before and show up and while you're waiting in line, say hi to Joe Emilio and after you vote, get a quick interview if you're up for it. I mean, I think that'd be that'd be pretty cool.
But it's going to be super early, dude. Like we're planning on, I think it opens at 7, so we're going to try and be there at like 6:30 in the queue.
Okay, well, that's not super early. On election day, as judge of elections, I'm up at 5 o'clock and open the polls at 7, but I open the building at 6. So.
Okay, cool. Well then, yeah, I forgot you're a colonel. You're used to waking up at the crack of dawn. Like.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I don't like waking up at the crack of dawn, but but I'll do it when it's necessary. I interviewed Velencosini Chlabisa, the head of the IFP, at 3 o'clock in the morning on Friday here, so just so I could get that interview. So anyway, all right. So Joe, any final thoughts? Give you a chance to make a pitch for people to go vote for the referendum party. The floor is yours because I know your time is short.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, look, listen, guys. Again, if you want Cape independence, you're gonna have to vote for it this coming election on the 29th of May. Vote for the referendum party. I've explained to you now, if you're concerned about losing or maybe, voting for the referendum party would mean that the ANC would somehow get back into the Western Cape or have control of the West. It's not going to happen. Referendum party is 100%, 1,000% against the ANC. We will do whatever we can to make sure that they are not in power ever in the Western Cape. And we will make sure that the DA continues to govern the Western Cape as well. And at the same time, pressure them to hold a referendum. That is the point of this party. So if you want Cape independence, this is the democratic route to achieve that, a democratic, peaceful route. So please, if you want to give, if I think I'm going to quote Phil Craig, who recently said, you can view this as like Noah's Ark, right? You don't want to be the person who didn't get on the boat. Don't be that person when the rain is falling still saying the rain isn't coming. Just be courageous, vote for the referendum party, and the most important ballot to vote on is the provincial ballot, by the way. You can give us a national vote. We're on all 3 ballots, but the most important is provincial. As long as we get 2 seats, if we can hit 2 seats, that's our goal. That's enough. That's enough to call, or to allow us the opportunity to call a referendum and allow the Western Cape people to finally decide on their future. And that's the whole point of our party.
Well, there you go, folks. A very well-stated position there from Joe Emilio. Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure. Thanks for coming on. You're going to be my last political candidate for this election season, so you got that distinction. And I look forward, even if I don't see you on election morning, at least seeing you while I'm in the Western Cape. I'll make a genuine effort to get there, but I'll stay in touch via what. I'll make a genuine effort to stay in touch via WhatsApp in case I am or I am not going to be there. But anyway, folks, none other than Joe Emilio, our favorite Texan, Egyptian, South African comedian. I don't think there's any more Texan/Egyptian/South African comedians. So you're clearly our favorite. Joe, thanks a lot. Best of luck on Wednesday.
Thanks so much, Chris. Thanks again for having me. Cheers, man.
All right, folks. Joe Emilio, I'll let him drop off here, and then I will go ahead and get to the rest of the news I want to cover here real quick. So let me go ahead. I'm going to end the Zoom session and turn the camera back on. So let me do that very quickly here. All right, give me just a moment there, folks. All right. Whoops. Turn the Zoom off. You don't need to see that. And get my camera back here. And there we are, just like magic. Wow, the magic of technology. Well, thanks, folks. Be sure to hit the like button. This was a live stream about Cyril Ramaphosa speaking to the nation, and he gave a speech that was just nonsense. Complete waste of your time and my time. I hope that you found my comments biting, insightful, entertaining, whatever the case was. There's Joe Emilio making a pitch for his candidacy and for his party, the referendum party in the Western Cape. And Joe says thanks. There you go. There's a classy gentleman saying thank you. By the way, folks, when I lost, I don't think everyone knows this, but I ran an advert in the paper the next week, which wasn't free, by the way. I had to pay a lot for this. This is the advert I ran in which I thank people for, voting for me or helping me out, campaigning for me, that sort of thing. So there's the ad I ran. And if you look closely, you'll see the photograph is actually the castle in Cape Town. It's from my last trip to South Africa. So this is what I wrote in the paper, and I quoted Ronald Reagan. I said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction," Ronald Reagan. And I said, "I wish to share my gratitude and thanks to all those in the 92nd District whom I met over the past 2 months during the campaign here in central Pennsylvania. Knocking on thousands of doors, I met so many interesting folks. I'm sorry we did not do better and get the chance to represent the district. Our nation is in peril. Danger few see coming. That is why I ran for office. I'll continue to fight for our liberty from an intrusive government and an out-of-control state and federal legislature. I thank everyone who kindly gave me their time, the folks who helped us develop the campaign, and volunteers who worked so hard speaking to folks, getting yard signs out, and those who worked the polls. You're all rock stars. I end the race as I began it with my integrity and honor intact." Colonel retired Chris Wyatt. And that's what I put in the paper after the election. Yeah, so good. Nothing in the USA is free. No, nothing is free, and nothing should be free. You should have to pay for it. And Joe thanked me. You're very welcome, Joe. It was a pleasure to chat, and I look forward to seeing you when I'm in the Western Cape. Joe is a lot more interesting than Cyril Ramaphosa. I'll give you that. That's a fair statement right there. A lot more. And Christopher says, "Thanks, Joe. You sold me." Well, look at that, Joe. Look at that. You took a few minutes of your time. You might have just picked up a vote for your party there. Wow. Rita says, "Well, that was great and informative, Chris and Joe. Overshadowed Cupcake by far." I agree, Rita. Definitely did overshadow. That's pretty cool. Post-campaign is a very respectful touch. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Keith. That's what I did. Yeah, hold on. I'm wrong. Student debt is free in the USA. Yes, Arctic, that is true, but it's not free. It's free for the deadbeats, but not free for taxpayers, as we carry the burden. Cape Town is such an awesome, nice place to visit. It is, Debbie. It's lovely. But so is Pretoria, and I'll be headed to the Highveld on the 5th of June, and I'll see you guys up there. And then where will I be on the Army's birthday? That's the 14th of June, which is Bastille Day. No, Bastille Day is July 14th. It's Flag Day. Flag Day and the Army's birthday on the 14th of June. I don't know where I'm going to be yet. Sean says, quick wrap-up of Jelly Belly speech, please, so no visuals of him and his voice. Okay. All right, Sean, I'll give you a wrap-up of Cyril Ramaphosa. President Cyril Ramaphosa spoke to the nation this evening, May 26, 2024, for arguably probably the shortest speech in his entire political career. He spoke for less than 30 minutes. I think it was approximately about 24, 26 minutes long. In the speech, he ran through a list of things that he claimed were accomplishments under the government of the ANC and under his watch. He railed against state capture era, of which most of that time period he was the deputy president of South Africa and bears responsibility for the shenanigans going on in South Africa, but he conveniently overlooks that. He claims that South Africa, the government has re-energized the criminal justice sector and is prosecuting state capturing criminals, yet he wouldn't point to a single case of anybody being charged or prosecuted for any crimes under state capture. He did not do that because there are none. And he himself, ironically, he is irony, what's the word, impaired. He's irony impaired because he didn't see the irony of talking about alleged accused criminals when, in fact, he's one of them for his Pala currency violations. Again, folks, as I said, in planning my trip to South Africa this time, for the first time in 30 years, I was required to digitally, online, fill out a customs declaration online. Normally you just do it when you arrive at the airport or they ask you questions or you just walk through the nothing to declare. Well, I have nothing to declare, and so I had nothing to declare. But on that form, one of the things you must declare is currency. If you have over $10,000 in foreign currency, equivalent to 10,000 US dollars, and or 25,000 Rand or more, you must declare that according to the customs officials. Yet Munir Palapala had a gentleman visit him from Sudan who brought $580,000. That would mean that the businessman who wanted to buy the Ankole cattle was $570,000 over the declaration maximum and failed to declare it. No criminal charge has been filed against him or against Cyril Ramaphosa for the money laundering scheme that took place. But he had the irony to sit there. He's irony impaired like Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. He's irony impaired to realize that, he's talking about prosecuting criminals and the accused criminals, and he is in fact one of them. Yep. So, and they fall on this thing that the parliament found that he had violated none of the rules of government, or, well, that isn't the point. As an elected official, he didn't violate his personal rules, but he violated law. So there you go. Anyway, he went on and on about talking about the progress they made against gender-based violence, which is just sickening and disrespectful to those who are victims of gender-based violence. He talked about a fund for helping people. Please, if anybody knows anyone, you don't have to give us their name, but just tell us you know somebody who has been a recipient of psychosocial counseling or aftercare or financial recompensation for being a victim of gender-based violence. Please let us know about it, because we don't know of a single case of that happening. What were the conditions of the fictional sale? Yeah, and Helene says, remember the rules for thee, but not for me. Yeah, exactly. That's a fair statement. And the list went on and on of fake accomplishments from a corrupt, kleptocratic government. The ANC, it was just nothing but a festival of lies. I mean, any analyst worth their while who writes on this after the fact will castigate this speech. It was not even an effective campaign speech. And that's what the intent was. Don't make no mistake, folks. Cyril Ramaphosa, in less than 90 seconds, said what he needed to say. All he needed to say as President of the Republic is come out and say, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to go for national provincial elections on May 29th. I urge all South Africans to be law-abiding citizens and to not participate in illegal demonstrations, perpetrate violence, or perpetrate violence. Be lawful, go vote, don't harm the efforts of other people to go vote and decide the future of this country. That's all he had to say. The rest of it was just total poppycock. It was total nonsense. It was hogwash. It was a waste of time. And it was delivered in a mind-numbingly boring fashion. Literally, the man sounded as if he was falling asleep. Let me try to do a little impersonation of Cyril Ramaphosa as he spoke today. And we have re-energized and revitalized the criminal justice system and are prosecuting criminals. Yeah, that's exactly what the cadence of his speech was. It was sad. It was pathetic. It was beyond awful. I don't understand how anybody thinks this guy is a good person, a good human being, a successful businessman, a good legislator, a good member of parliament, a good leader. I see none of that in this man. I don't know how people can delude themselves. And if you actually think he is, state how. I encourage, I exhort, I challenge anyone who will vote for the ANC to tell me how Cyril Ramaphosa is a great leader, what he has done. Don't tell me he's rich, because he didn't earn that money. It was handed to him. Don't tell me that he's accomplished this or the other, because you've got nothing to hang your hat on. The only thing that Cyril Ramaphosa has been successful at doing is continuing the kleptocracy of the ANC, but disguising it and blaming it on PPE, blaming it on COVID, blaming it on Western vaccine apartheid, blaming it on Western powers, all that nonsense. He even talked about how they stood up for the world, for the global south. Really? 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 Well, first off, Gaza is not in the global south. It's in the northern hemisphere and part of the developed world because it's part of Israel. So you're not doing it there. But what about the global south, which isn't really always just south of the dividing equator line, but also includes places like China and also Myanmar? When did you stand up for the Rohingya? Did you join the Gambia's groundbreaking historic case against Myanmar and its accused genocide of the Rohingya Muslim minority? No, you didn't. You didn't do it. It was 2019, 2020, 2021, 2, 3, 12, 5 years ago. And you claim the moral high ground, Cyril Ramaphosa. And of course, you're talking about Gaza. You have no moral high ground. What about the Uyghurs in China, which has been going on for over a decade that we know about? Did you stand up for the Uyghurs? You did not. You did not stand up for the Uyghurs. So he has no moral high ground. This was just a festival of poorly delivered, mind-numbingly boring lies. I don't know anything he said was true except for the part that I said where he should tell people not to get involved in election violence. Yep. He is boring, Helene. You're 100% correct. Dennis Radford says lies, lies, and more lies. That's all he says. Empty promises. IEC voting boxes have been found, completed, and locked to be brought on voting day of these elections. Okay, Dennis, where are you getting that information from? I would like to know because I'll pursue that story. I'm aware of a case in KwaZulu-Natal in which the MK party, which has an axe to grind against the IEC, has claimed that they found boxes that were in a warehouse, which is true. The IEC says they were there. They are election material that are pre-positioned for delivery on election day, is what the IEC said. Do you have evidence? I'm not. This is not accusatory term, Dennis. If you got it, I want it so I can go to it, investigate it. But anybody has any information that anything untoward is happening during this election, I urge you to contact me. If Hendo is still here, or Eric, if you could put the link to the WhatsApp group, not the one for the coordination of the trip, but the one for members or one of those groups out there. Put one of those links out there and let us know. Yeah, exactly. Contestation. Yeah, exactly. That was funny. Yep. That was funny. Cyril has been the biggest liar South Africa's ever had. Yep. ANC has never taken responsibility. Yeah, they don't. They just say we're revitalizing the ANC. How are you revitalizing? What are you doing to revitalize? Final grasp of a failed ANC campaign. Yeah, of a failed political party. A carcass, a dead man walking. The African National Congress is literally, even if they don't lose this election, they are literally whistling past the cemetery as South Africans die in poverty, suffer from a lack of water, clean water, die from cholera, die from HIV, die from tuberculosis, all needlessly because of policies of the ANC, and die an economic death. Black, brown, white South Africans will die an economic death as a consequence of the national health insurance ripoff that's coming. Yep. Yeah, evidence matters. That's correct. Yeah, we can lay allegations, we can put insinuations all day long, but evidence matters, and that's what I'm going for. So the ANC will take information that is not germane and use it as evidence to proclaim innocence. For instance, in the case of Pala Pala, parliamentary investigated him for ethics, and they said that Ramaphosa committed no ethics violations. Well, that's probably because the ethics rules don't envision people, embezzling or money laundering $600,000 of cash into South Africa. $580,000. I was embellishing. That's probably why the ethics things don't cover that. But that doesn't mean laws weren't violated. It doesn't mean crimes weren't committed. There's been no investigation by the police that we're aware of. Excuse me, boy, something stuck there in the throat. I said Ramaphosa too many times. It's like Beetlejuice, man. Ramaphosa. Whoa! Here he is. It's like Beetlejuice. Double standards in the order of the day, says RJ. That is true. It is the final gasp of a dying political movement. And they deserve to die. Because as South Africans have been murdered, as South Africans have been robbed, as South Africans have been carjacked, as they've been subjected to inferior education, all South Africans of all races, as they have lived in squalor, promoted by a party set to inflict poverty on the population. They have a right to be upset. Debbie, yes, I could probably use some assistance. the link, Hendo can put the link to that group. But that group, again, folks, the Make South Africa Great group, the WhatsApp group is not for social media posting. It's just for coordination of the trip where people need to reach out to me. They can reach me through WhatsApp because reaching me by phone, I don't know that my SIM card's even going to be valid. I probably have to replace both my SIM cards for MTN and for Vodacom when I land in Cape Town because those SIM cards, they expire after like 90 days or 6 months or something like that. One of my trips, or two of my trips, I was able to keep the Vodacom number for a long time. But this time I haven't been in South Africa since August. So yeah, that's going to be September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Wow, it's been 11 months since I've been in South Africa. That's the longest gap since I started coming back. But yeah, anyway, so there you go. I would have been there in January, February, but I was running for office and I had to be back here. What word is, contestation. That was a funny one. Just don't know how poor black communities have not seen through ANC by now, 30 years later. Well, it shows you the level of critical thinking skills that have been degraded by South Africa's Bantu education under the ANC. Yep. Hey, Little Miss Know-It-All. Good to see you there. You have shaved your beard. Yeah, I've shaved it a couple times. Keeps getting shorter. Anyway, all right. Okay, folks. Let's say we wrap it up here, huh? 2 hours. There's still 100 people watching, 1,600 views on this. Thanks. My thanks to Cyril Ramaphosa for entertaining us with a mind-numbingly boring but brief, thankfully brief, pathetic speech. And then also my genuine thanks to Joe Emilio, my final candidate interview for the 2024 South Africa elections. Joe Emilio, a candidate for the referendum party, sitting at number 10 on their list. And congratulations to him for being on the list. And good luck to him and to his party and to all South African parties, save the EFF, MK, and the ANC. The rest of you, good luck. And we hope that the opposition does well. I don't know if I have another broadcast before I fly tomorrow, but I will do shorts and, and brief live streams from the airport and my travels to go around. It's a long trip. I have to fly from Harrisburg to Atlanta to Cape Town, and that is quite a trip. So I'll be on the ground shortly. I'll see people in South Africa. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for your time. Really looking forward to it, and we'll catch you all later. God bless. Be safe out there, and wow, don't take any wooden nickels because they just don't do anything. All right, folks. Cheers. Bye-bye.